In this video, we're going to be comparing Nigeria versus UK, and we're going to be talking about the average salary you earn in Nigeria as well as the average salary you earn in the UK, and then we're going to compare that with the cost of living in Nigeria and in the UK. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to allow you, the audience, to answer the question: is it worth coming over to the UK? Do you think you'll have a better life in Nigeria? Before you watch this video, just answer that question and leave it at the comment section, and then after watching this video, then you can go back and see if your answer will still remain the same. I have a very interesting guest here with me. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're watching this. My name is Busayo, and I'm a registered nurse living and practicing in Nigeria. I'm a content creator as well. I create content on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and recently I just launched a website for nursing students to take tests and things like that. So those are the kinds of things that I do.
I'm going to leave a link to her channel in the description box, so make sure you check out her channel, subscribe to her, and make sure you watch her videos. They are very, very educative. So we're just going to go ahead with this video. So the first thing we're going to discuss is the average salary a nurse earns in Nigeria versus a nurse in the UK. So we're going to be talking about, like, let me go with UK first, then we allow you to talk about Nigeria. Okay. So in the UK, I work in a nursing home. You can either work in the nursing home or in the hospital, and the pay varies depending on where you work. So in the nursing home, you would usually work for like 4 days or 5 days a week, depending on your contract. This is just like the average nurse salary. Okay. So after deduction, the take home will usually be around £2,000 for a nurse in the nursing home. And then for those that are working in the hospital, it's a bit lower, but they have shift differentials. So although they earn like about 1.8 thereabout, 1.7, 1.8 at the end of the month, but they also have things like if you work nights, your pay goes higher. If you do bank shifts, yeah, your pay goes higher, and you only have to work for 3.5 days. That's what makes up the full-time job. So it's actually easier in the hospital.
Nice, quite nice, I must confess. But you know, comparing that to Nigeria, one thing is that I love the fact that there is a particular structure, like you can easily estimate. When you come down to Nigeria, you can't exactly estimate, in the sense that there are like 4 places you can place yourself as a nurse. Either you're working with the federal government, you're working with the state government, you're working with the local government, or you're working in the private sector, like you're not even in the government sector at all. So the sector you're working in alone can even influence the pay you will get. For the government structure, it is, you know, you can still estimate that if you're working with the government. For federal government, as an entry-level nurse, though there are variations, you know, if you have a bachelor's degree, you're starting from SNO. That's like the new rule now. You start from the SNO level. And if you're coming in with a registered nursing diploma, that means you're starting from NO2 or NO1, depending on how many years of experience you've had. So I think for federal government hospitals, if I'm not mistaken, you should be starting like a range of, let's just give a wide range of like 100 to, let's say, 160. From what I've heard from my friends, federal government, you're starting with like 100 to 160. Now, what will influence what you get is probably going to be like your, should I say, where you're staying. Are you working in a big city, or you're working in a rural area? You know, you can't compare the salary of somebody in Lagos to the salary of somebody in like Akure or Ogumosho or Osun State, for example.
They do that in Nigeria as well?
Yes, you can't know now. The variation comes to play a lot with private sector. You know, the private sectors, the private hospitals can determine how much they want to pay you. Personally, for now, I am working in the private sector, so I think I have like a better knowledge of private sector. Though I did my internship and my NYC in the government sector, so I kind of like have a little idea of both. So for private sector, it is quite messy. It is very, very messy.
I know.
Messy in the sense that quackery has done a lot of harm. It can be as bad as 5,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 monthly. It can be as bad as that. Like,
You know, I can actually relate to that because when I finished my school of nursing, I did my midwifery in Benin. So I actually didn't want to move. I wanted to live in Benin. But what the hospitals were paying then, oh my God. If you even see a pay of 15,000 naira, you'll be happy. So I
wow.
left Benin. It was so poor. I left Benin. I went to Warri, and my first pay, my first salary as a nurse was around 35,000 naira, and
Anyway,
I
in
thought
Warri,
it was
Warri is a very
big
expensive
in
city.
Warri, and I thought it was big until my eyes opened like this. I was like, no, let me move to Lagos. Then it was when I went to Lagos that I started earning. Still, still average, not too much, but just okay. And then I was like, no, man, I need to leave this country. Oh, this is not
Wow.
it at all. So for that salary, how often would you usually work?
I know there's a standard number of hours you're supposed to work as a nurse, the government approved standard. But because we don't really follow that in so many hospitals, so we don't really have knowledge. Like in UK now, you're supposed to work for at least so number of hours, so number of days. Here we
37.5 is
work
the normal.
on weekly roster basis. We work on weekly roster basis. Do you understand? So, in fact, you've been there, so you would even have more knowledge.
I know.
So,
I've
for
been
us,
there, but I've forgotten because this was
all right,
like
you forgot it.
almost 5 years
All right,
ago.
so
So I
this is
can't
how it
even
works.
remember
This
how my
this is
rota used to look like.
okay. So for one of the hospitals that I've worked, not where I work currently anyway, this is how it works. Let's say from we were starting January 1st, 2023. From you might not be on duty. That's if you're a matron, you're on permanent morning shift. Like if you're a seasoned nurse, you're like probably the manager of the ward. What you guys would call like ward managers, we call them matrons or HOD or CNOs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're on
True.
permanent morning shift. It means you'll be coming to work in the morning, Monday to Fridays. That's like 8 to 4. That's permanent morning. I'll
It's
probably be
too far.
working the clinic, let's say antenatal clinics, family planning clinics, OPD clinics, permanent morning, 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. But if you're working on the ward, for someone like me that works on the ward, you're going to be working on shifts basis. So let's say Sunday you're off duty, you're working morning, Monday to Friday, Saturday you're off. The following week you're starting afternoon. Let's say on Sunday you work for 5 days afternoon, then you get like 4 days off. Then you go for night. Night is 7 days, and with each 7 days of night you get 7 days off. So if you're night shift Sunday to Saturday, you are off Sunday to Saturday, you're not going to work. So that's
Oh my God, I love
so
that.
so if you're working, let's say probably you requested for night. So if you're working 7 days night, you go 7 days off, you come back 7 days night, 7 days off. So you are probably working a total of 14 days, which is not actually 24 hours because night shift is like 12 hours. Morning shift is 8 to 2. Afternoon shift is like 2 to 8. Then you now have 8 to 8 as the night shift. That's for hospitals that have 3 shifts. But hospitals that work on like 2 shifts basis, then you get like 8 to 4, 4 to 8. I heard
It's
of that working in
It's to
Lagos. I don't
four
know
is
how they do it, but I've heard
yeah.
8 to 4, 4 to
I
8.
think
Yeah.
it's 8 to 4. Yeah, 8 to 4.
Yeah, but for most of the hospitals I've worked, it's 8 to 2, 2 to 8, 8 to 8. That's how we run. Then you
Wow,
get
that is
like
easy.
number of offs. Though it's different from us. Some hospitals will tell you if you do 4 afternoons, you get 2 days off. Some will say if you do 4 afternoons, you get 4 days off. I don't really know. It varies, but that's like how it is. Either you're working on morning basis or you're working on shift basis.
Wow, that's really good. Here we're already used to 8 to 8, 8 in the morning to 8 in the night, or 7 in the morning to 7 at night. They pay per hour. But in Nigeria, in Nigeria, I remember then that when I used to work, and maybe almost time for me to close, then we'll have an emergency. All those extra time that you stay at work, it's not being paid.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's just
it's
because
not being
if
paid.
I feel if there
Oh,
was like a structure or a rule for overtime, they'll probably pay. I mean, the hospitals that will pay, and those that will not pay will not pay.
yeah, same here too.
Yeah,
Some employers will pay for the overtime. Some will
yeah.
not. Some will be like you should have finished the work before time. So Anyway, I think we've answered that salary question.
Yeah.
So let's just round up this average salary. Out of Nigeria and UK, who do you think makes the most salary compared to the work that we have to do?
That I feel you guys get a better pay, because I identified the fact that there are some hospitals here that underpay their nurses just because they don't get sanctioned. Like, there's nobody to arrest them, nobody to hold them. They can choose to pay whatever they want. So for you guys, no matter where you're working, you get your due pay. Do you get? So I feel you guys have the better pay.
Yeah, we have the better pay, true, but in terms of work, I think you guys have the best work routine, because work here is hard.
No.
Work here is hard.
Nigeria, you do the one wey concern you, the one that is not your business. You will do everything. You will do record. You will do why now?
No,
You've been there before.
I've worked in Nigeria. Nigeria's work is
both
easy.
the ones you learn to school and the ones they not teach you. You do everything. You do everything.
Nigeria's work is easy
record officer,
compared to
you
UK
do
work.
the test. But if you say so, yeah. Me, I don't believe.
We allow the viewers to make that decision. We allow them make that decision.
Me, I don't believe, but if you say so, I still believe Nigerian nurses work hard. Like, we're very hardworking and we don't get the right pay.
That's true. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Okay, so let's move on to the next subheading: cost of living.
Okay.
How much would you think an average person pays for rent in a big city like Lagos or Abuja, and then compared to another smaller city?
Well, I'm not a city babe. I don't live in the city. I'm not a city girl. But from my friends that live in the city, like the big city, the city of Lagos, where everything happens, I've heard of people renting a 2-bedroom apartment for as high as 1.2 million naira, and 2 people splitting a 1.2 million naira apartment to 600,000. And for those of us that we don't live in the big city, you can get a 2-bedroom apartment, spacious, for as low as 200k, 180, and in some very yes, per year. And in some very rural areas, you can get a 2-bedroom flat for as low as 120,000.
That's cheap.
We are calculating in pounds. We are not earning in pounds. We are earning in naira. I'm advocating for Nigerian nurses. We are earning in naira.
Okay, so for me, I live in Northern Ireland, which is like one of the cheapest area to live in the UK. Yeah. I purposely picked Northern Ireland because of the cost of living.
In Nigeria, babe, to call.
So for me in Northern Ireland, things are actually expensive now. Right, okay. So things have gone up, but when I came over, I was living in a 4-bedroom house and I was paying £500. But that is
Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Let me write the name down somewhere. 4-bedroom.
£500 per month.
Okay.
But we pay rent monthly here, and you guys pay rent every year. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so, monthly. Okay.
Yeah, monthly. So £500 per month. But because of the UK economic crisis now, a lot of things have changed. That's my house. I don't live there anymore. I had to leave. But that my house now has gone up. Here that I'm living, it's a new house and it's just 3-bedroom, and I'm paying this £150 per month. Because it's Northern Ireland, this amount is actually cheap. If I'm to live in London, same house will be going for like at least £1,500 a month.
And when your take home is like 2,000, or what did you say the other time?
You will hardly see people living in their own house in London. Usually they share if they are not family. Like, it's not a huge family, husband, wife, children. If it's just you, individual, it's actually cheaper to just go for house share. Yeah. So
Jesus.
This house, this 3-bedroom house, we have like 3 different people living in this house, and they'll be sharing the same kitchen. Most of the time, they have bathroom in the room. But they'll be sharing kitchen. They'll be sharing the living room. And no, I don't even like that at
And these
all.
are people,
I
people
don't
coming
like that
from,
at
oh
all.
God, Africa is
Privacy is not there.
this.
I don't like that. So that's the downside of living in London. It's very expensive, but everything happens in London.
So
Activities, the
it's
jobs,
just like
everything is
living in
there.
Lagos and living in, let's say, Akure, or
Yes,
living in,
yes,
yeah. So I
exactly.
get, Lagos is where
Exactly.
everything happens. Businesses are in Lagos. Everything
Exactly.
is in Lagos. That's why rent in
Yeah.
Lagos is so high, and yeah, I think I can relate. I
Yeah.
can get, yeah,
Yeah, that's the
yeah.
same thing with here. But we also have some places that are just in between. Not too
Okay.
expensive and not too cheap. So they are just in the middle. Like places
Okay.
like Manchester. Some areas in Manchester are actually okay. One of my colleague, she moved to Manchester before, but she just came back now. And the reason why she came back was because of the rent. She said she was paying £1,000 per month for a two-bedroom apartment in Manchester. And how much is her pay for her to be paying £1,000 a month for rent? So she had to move back to
I'm
Northern
actually
Ireland.
surprised. I'm actually surprised because when we talk about nurses working in the UK, I think what we talk about mostly is the pay that they get monthly, which is
Yeah,
quite nice. It's a good reason.
yeah.
Oh, people don't really, talk about this standard of living
Mm-hmm.
thing until we
No, they
get
don't.
there.
The thing is that many people coming to the UK, they are actually not looking at the bees involved. They're just looking at how much I'm going to earn. Okay, they pay per hour. If I work so amount of hours, I'm going to earn so amount of money. Just
I think
thinking
it's
of the
because we
money.
don't really have such pays back home. Like, you're not paying, no, at home, like in Nigeria now, most of us, our parents owned their own houses. So nobody was paying for heater, nobody was paying for light, for water. Everybody had their own generator, like.
Since you've already brought this up, let me just say this under the rent as well, right?
Okay.
So for electricity in this house, we are spending like £100 a month.
Okay, sorry. Like the rent and electricity bill,
It's
they're
different.
separate.
Yeah, it's different. Just the way you go and pay NEPA bill in
Yes.
Nigeria, even when you are not seeing the light. But the
But
difference
at
here
least
is
una dey
that
see the lights. Una sha dey see the
exactly,
lights.
exactly. Here we get
Eh.
the light steady power supply, but you will pay. You will pay.
I
So
think
yeah,
the good side is that you're seeing what you're paying for.
yeah, yeah.
That's just.
In my own
See, NEPA
house.
just brought lights. They are showing you that. See, hey, my fan not working.
We were talking about
Wow.
electricity and they just brought
And
the
they brought
light.
lights. They can hear you. I'm trying to figure out
In
how
charge
much
of
we
that.
have left because we've deducted rents, we've deducted
We've deducted rent.
gas.
Let's say 2,000. We've
Like,
deducted rent of and you know
so
the
I'm
good thing in this country is that one person cannot be the sole breadwinner of the house. It's not like
like
in
Africa,
Nigeria that
right?
you will say is the man that will go and pay for rent, the man will pay for
Oh,
light, the man will pay for water, will pay for this, will pay
ah,
for that. It will
wait.
not be
So
work
you're
like
telling me that if I come here now, I'll have to be doing 50
you will
50.
split the bills, 50-50.
No, that's not the African way.
The African way ended when you were
The
in
man was
Nigeria.
paying. I didn't.
No, the African way ended when you were in Nigeria. As soon as you
Wow.
cross that bridge
So
and
any
come
woman
over
that is
to
not
the
ready to
UK,
pay me
everything
should
is
sit down.
50-50. Yeah, everything
Wow.
is 50-50 because only
Amazing.
one person cannot shoulder the expenses. We've not even talked about other payments. So, like,
Which other
let's say
payment
you
is
even
that?
have car payments. Let's say you have car payments.
Hey God.
You pay for that one. See, there are many direct debits. You pay for Netflix, all these small TV license, all those small things that you have to
TV
pay.
license.
Hmm.
Sorry,
You
Jamie, you
pay
bought the
TV license.
TV. Have you not bought the TV?
If you are going to be watching live programs in the UK, you have to pay your TV
Okay.
license. I think that's about £150 a year. And see, if you don't pay it and they catch you watching BBC or watching any live program, they will sue you to court, and the money you will pay will be way higher than 150
Sorry, I
pounds.
think I need to stop billing my friends that are living in the UK because I'm beginning to pity you guys now.
It's not easy. Oh, forget about all this social media, UK this, UK that. If you go and look at the bank accounts of a lot of people, some of them are just relying on credit cards. Seriously. So
Wow.
let's where
That's
did we
an
stop?
eye opener for me, honestly. I've heard about these things, but I didn't get the details like this, that it was this. Man, you're
It is.
trying, you're a strong
I'm
woman.
not even going into a lot of details because I've not really
So with
I
this
did
one,
not
you
really
did not go
think
into
of
details. With all this ones you mentioned.
I did not even go into a lot of details because if I say let me bring out all the direct
Now I
debits,
get
do you know you
attendance
also have
stuff.
to pay to be a nurse? When you get your PIN, you have to like register with a union. It's compulsory. Every nurse must register with a union, and that union you have to be paying them every month.
Just
Every
like the way we pay
single
Nam
month.
due.
Yeah.
But Nam due
Yeah.
doesn't take a whole chunk of our salary.
So this one, I think I'm with ROCN. I'm paying about £16 per month. 16 point something pounds per month.
Don't worry, God will help us.
Let's just go because we
If
are
you
still
are
on
working
that
in
rent,
UK,
and I feel like we've said too much on that rent. So
no, no,
let's just
no.
move on to the
I
next
give you take.
next part. So for rent part, I would say Nigeria wins in this aspect, hands
Wow.
down
Feel
in
I
this
feel
part.
if we're talking about the rent, I think it's a bit cheaper but less convenience. Like it's cheaper, right? But the level of convenience you have, like the lights you spoke about, the heater, the TV and everything, like it is more expensive but more convenient. For us it is cheaper but less convenient.
Okay, so moving on from rent, let's talk about transportation. I feel like the UK is going to win in this one.
No, you guys all have it obviously, but you cannot tell me that your transport is interesting. Do people do sales inside your
Interesting.
bus? No, you have the luxury, but no, we have the vibe. What do you mean? You get
Okay,
Molue?
okay,
Is there
true.
Molue? Is there Molue in UK? Do you rush for bus? That adrenaline rush. Do you have it?
We do, actually, we do. But the kind of
Oh,
rush that we rush is when you are trying to catch up with the bus that is leaving you behind.
oh,
That's the kind
leaving
of
you.
rush. Their transport here is always on time. So if your bus is by 10 o'clock and you get there 5 minutes after 10, if 5 minutes is too much, 1 minute after 10, that bus is already leaving. So you have to
So
like
no
run.
African time. Well,
About
I'll tell you guys have a standard. But here in Nigeria, there are many ways to kill a rat in Nigeria. Can decide, okay, it's Okada, it's Molue, Korokwe, you have
which one
Okada.
is
Yeah.
Korope?
Korokwe, that's tricycle. Tricycle.
Is
There's
that
Okada,
keke?
that
Is
one.
it keke? Keke na pep.
Yes, keke napep, but
Keke.
then there are some buses that you
This
call
is the first time
Molue.
I'm
Then there are
hearing
some
it
buses
called
you call.
Korope.
In my own town, there's another one they call it Agolo. That one is just like 2-3 spaces. You have different options. You cannot have that in the UK. I'm very sure. There's train in Nigeria now. Honestly, if you're going from Ibadan to Lagos, you can go through train, and the train is actually very nice. You can travel by air too in Nigeria. Though there are some brands that will leave you stranded, but yeah, you can still travel by air. That's the goal. That's the main point.
Okay, all these things are available in Nigeria. Well, how much do you think somebody will spend averagely in a month? Like, how much will an average person spend a month on transport in
It
Nigeria?
depends. See, that's what I'm trying to explain. It depends. If you decide to trek some
Just put a
distance,
number. Just put a number.
I can't put a number. For me, because like where I work is not so far from, like, let's be serious now. Where I work is not so far from where I live. So my transport fare, since fuel became I think 510 or 550 per liter now. Since fuel got up to that price, I take a bike from my home to work. That's 200 naira. Then back home 200 naira. So that's 400 naira daily. So that means if I'm going to work 5 times a week, that's 4 times 5, that's 2,000 naira. And if I'm going to work 5 times a week for 4 times, that's 2 times 4 again, that's 8,000 naira. So my transport to work alone is going to be like 8,000 naira. Now I still have to go to the market. I might still decide to go out, like, hang out with my friends, jolly and do things like that. So I'll be spending nothing less than 12 to 15k on transport because I'm
Wow.
taking bike. If I'm taking Bolt or Uber, though where I live, Bolt and Uber is not available and I can't drive. That's why I just have to go with bikes. If I'm taking Bolt or Uber, I'll be spending like 25, 30, 40K monthly on transportation because I live in a place where things are very cheap. But I was living in a place like Lagos. I have friends that spend close to 100K monthly, if not more than that, just on
For
Bolt and Uber.
transport? Wow. Wow. That's
Now,
way higher than I was expecting.
fuel price would influence transport and how comfortable you want to be. I will continue to measure that comfort. You can decide to take Bolt for 2,000 naira for the same distance, collect AC, and you are fine. And you can decide to trek and pay zero. You can also decide to take bike and pay like maybe 1,000 or 500 naira. So it depends on where you're going, where you live, and how comfortable you want to be on that journey.
That's actually higher than what I was expecting. But
Yeah, yeah.
for us here, I would say like we have bus passes. So if you live in London, those major cities that their buses are always on ground, then it's cheaper to get a bus pass, and that can be
Oh,
like probably £90. Let's just say £100 a month. Yeah, it
wow,
should
that's
not be
that's
up to,
nice.
yeah,
That's
but
cheap.
let's just say £100 a month for transport.
Wait, before we
And
say cheap, let's not forget that we are comparing it to the pay. So £100 to somebody that is earning like 2,000, it's quite nice.
yeah,
But for
yeah,
somebody that is earning like maybe 15, 25,000 naira in a month, and person has to
yeah,
spend like
I agree.
8,000 naira on transportation, that's not nice at all.
No, that's,
At
yeah,
all.
yeah, right. That's not good at all, right? And then for those that are in other areas, like there are some parts in Northern Ireland that you can't even rely on buses because the buses they come like every 1 hour. So if you
Oh,
miss, before I started driving, I remember when I used to pick agency shift, my shift would be by 8 o'clock, and then I'll have to leave with the 6 o'clock bus, because if I don't leave with that 6 o'clock bus and I decide to wait till 7 o'clock, I will get late, because when the bus will drop me, I still have to like walk down to where the home is, and that will take like, I don't know, maybe another 10-15 minutes. So it will be
wow.
better for me to use the 6 o'clock train, the 6 o'clock
Wow.
bus. So there are times that I will get to where I'm supposed to walk about 1 hour before I'm even
Earlier.
supposed to resume, because I can't rely on the bus. I can't
Oh,
rely on the bus system in Northern Ireland. So for people like us that have cars, we will usually spend like £30 a week. But that depends on how often you are commuting. I don't even live far away from my place of work. But there are times that I will pick agency shift and then I have to drive like almost 1 hour or 40 something minutes to get to where I picked the
oh.
shift. So that will make the fuel burn faster. You know the best thing about transport, the transportation system here. From when you get to like 60 years and above, you get a free bus pass,
That's another win for you guys. That's another
right?
win for you.
So, guys, because we don't want this video to be too long, we are just going to summarize the other subheadings. So, how much would an average person spend on feeding in Nigeria? Like here in the UK, I feel like food is actually one of the cheapest things. Yeah, food is
Nice.
very cheap. I can buy bread for like less than £1. I can get 12 eggs for £1 here in the UK,
That's
right?
nice.
And then the only part that is expensive is African food. Trying to buy African food here can be expensive. Like for my family, it's just me, my husband, and my 18 months old baby. She probably doesn't eat much anyway, so I shouldn't count her. But for
Okay.
us, we'll spend like at least £100 per shopping. So each
Shopping.
time we go for African, like we go to the African shop, we'll spend nothing less than £100 for each
Nice.
grocery haul, and we can do that like twice a month or once a month. So I'll just allocate like, let's just say £150 a month
But for Nigeria,
in
I think it
Nigeria.
depends on where you are living. Prices are not uniform. For where I live, I do not live in a big city. I mentioned that earlier. Personally, I spend, because I try to calculate, because I try to budget every month. So my feeding, gas, provisions, and regular food, I spend like 35 to 40K monthly if I'm going to completely buy everything for a month, that I'm completely going to buy provisions and food and fill my gas. I'll spend like 35 to 40K. But for a month that I'm going for just food stuff alone, like I'm not buying provisions like them cornflakes, milk, sugar, and all those kind of things, I'll spend 25K with gas. Remember, it's just me. So, and I don't live in a big city.
Okay, so the next subheading is shopping slash miscellaneous. Shopping.
I
Here
don't
in
go
the
shopping.
UK, that's almost
I
the
don't
same
shop
thing with me.
unnecessarily.
I rarely, rarely,
I
rarely,
rarely
rarely, rarely
shop.
shop. The only time I shop will be maybe I go and buy normal foodstuffs, and then I'll just say, "Oh, this top is fine." I'll just buy it. Or maybe I'll just see something I like for my baby. I'll just say, "Okay, let's just buy it." But for me to intentionally say I'm leaving the house to go and shop,
What?
nah, that's never going to happen.
Okay, maybe when I get AWOF money, yeah. Then I get when somebody sends me money, I'm like, okay, fine, let me use this one and shop. Hey, but money that works for,
Okay, okay. So there is no amount allocated to shopping.
no,
So moving
no.
on. So for savings, now we've already talked about the cost of rent, transport, feeding, shopping. After spending all these amounts, how much would you say an average person earning the salary that you said at the beginning would save from that salary after spending all this much
Anybody in Nigeria
in
that is
the
saving
cost of
more
living?
than 10K per month is doing something else outside nothing. If you are saving 5K per month, it means that you have a side hustle. I'm serious. If you are
Wow.
saving up to 5,000 naira every month, you definitely have a side hustle, or you are intentionally depriving yourself of a lot of things. It's really difficult to save, except you have a
That's
side
true.
hustle, or you have, like, you must have another source of income. If you're a nurse in Nigeria and you're able to save, so that you have another source of income, or you are depriving yourself of a lot of things. Probably you decide not to move out of your parents' house and you're living, because when I was living with my parents, I was saving a lot. And I was still living with my parents. So probably you're living with your parents, you're not buying the most expensive thing, like you're not really flexing, you're eating maybe twice in a day instead of 3 times a day. Like, you are depriving yourself of important things to be able to save.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like living paycheck to paycheck.
So for me personally, I believe more in investing than saving.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not buying crypto, like investing in knowledge, learning new skills that can help me like keep that flow of
Learning
money.
new skills.
Yes.
That's one thing that I really regret. I wish I had learned a lot of skills back in Nigeria before leaving.
Please,
Seriously.
you should, and I would recommend for anybody watching this that's not left Nigeria, I recommend learn skills that you can move with,
Yeah.
skills that most likely them soft skills, all this tech, content creation, things like that. That once you move, they move with you. Those are the best skill sets to learn,
And
and
those are
skills
the
that you
best.
can make you like money when you're not actively doing that thing. Yeah, copywriting, freelancing, selling digital products,
You,
UGC.
you know,
Yeah.
those ones even look complicated. You know, those kind of skills are even complicated. If you don't want to learn anything complicated, then just go and learn how to make hair. Do you know how much I spend to make my hair in this Northern Ireland? Because we don't have a lot of options here. It's just
Oh,
maybe one or two people I know in Northern Ireland, and they will charge you. They will charge you, and to the point that you would think it's even better to just go and wear wig. For savings in the UK, we will usually aim to save like at least 5% of the salary. At least
with
five
all
percent.
okay, well, you've already established that it will take like 2 or 3 people coming together to be able to
Yeah,
settle the bill. So you
exactly.
have enough for yourself.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I think one of the
Because
issues with Nigeria is that, the old African mentality, the man must pay, one person must shoulder the responsibility, makes it more difficult to save. I think so. So
yeah, that's true. But once they come to the UK, that mentality has to end. Like, the marriage will not work like that. So the man self will
God will
complain.
provide for my man. God will provide for my man.
That kind of prayer will not work.
Wow.
That kind of prayer will
But
not
it's
work,
nice.
bro.
At least now I know. Can't say that I don't know. Now I know.
So we've said a lot in this video. Now the question to the viewers that are watching this video: what do you think? Comparing Nigeria to UK, do you think it's still worth it to come over to the UK? Do you think it's better for you to live in Nigeria, invest the little money that you have instead of coming over here? Or do you
Based on
think
standard of living,
it's
we didn't touch security and other things.
or do you think it's better to take the small money you have in Nigeria and invest it into relocating to the UK? I actually want to hear your opinion, so leave it in the comment section.
Why should drag me? Oh.
Nobody will drag you. I enjoyed this discussion so much. Is there any advice you want to give us?
I think from what I've learned today, what I would just say is make proper research before you make your decision. Don't let anyone bully you. Make your decision when you feel the time is right. And don't think because you're in Nigeria that you're limited. No, there are a lot of things you can still do while you're in Nigeria, probably while you're still planning on traveling, or even if you just decided that you're not going anywhere, you're staying back. Yeah, you can invest in a lot of skills. Please invest in learning new skills, because that is what is going to give you like a breakthrough. Besides, I'm in Nigeria, I'm not doing so bad. Yeah, and that's the fact. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on my channel. Thank you for discussing this topic with me. And like I said before, guys, if you're watching this video, go to her channel and subscribe to her channel right now.
can you hear me?
Oh, it's breaking.
Sorry, is it my network or yours?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Are we back?
Not yet. I'm hearing you, but you are just
Okay.
stuck in one place.
I'm trying to figure out if it's my network or yours.
It's probably your network because my own is moving smoothly.
Okay, it's probably mine. Alright. I mean, no, if you want to talk to me direct. I did Nigeria, I've been network. Cast me.